Hey everybody, Mr. Comfort here. Sitting with SRO, Officer Whitfield. He's here to answer some questions from our students here at the middle school about his service in the military. The first question that we're going to start off with here is can you describe your experience in the Air National Guard a little bit for us?
Sure. So in 2014, I enlisted into the United States Air National Guard out of Scott Air Force Base in Illinois. And shortly thereafter, I went to basic military training in San Antonio, Texas, which is Lackland Air Force Base. The gateway to the Air Force is where everybody goes. And over the course of my time at Scott and at Lackland, I've been mobilized and deployed to different locations, different countries around the world, to include Guam, Japan, Italy, and most recently the Middle East.
Gotcha. So we'll talk about your deployment here to the Middle East here in a second, but that kind of ties into one of our questions that was asked by one of our students, Steven Ziegler. He was curious about what boot camp was like. So if you don't mind telling us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually enjoyed basic training. I went in, I was a little bit older when I went in, so it made life a little bit simpler to me. It seemed like the task and the things that I accomplished at basic training were, I don't want to say simple, but having a little bit of life experience definitely helped me. But it was all the things that I enjoyed doing previously, like shooting and fighting and lots of running around San Antonio.
Bet you that was hot. So what was your actual occupation in the military? And this comes from Landon Carroll.
Okay, so my actual occupation is I'm a logistics planner. So I kind of say this question is a two-part question. My specific Air Force Specialty Code, or AFSC, is a 2G as a logistics planner. So we handle all the logistics from plan to coordination, putting things into execution, as well as base support plans and support agreements that other organizations have with the military. And then a couple of other roles that I have within there is I'm a non-commissioned officer inside my shop. So I have airmen that belong to the junior enlisted tier below me. It's my job to see that their career advances on the right track. I'm kind of in charge of making sure that they're progressing throughout their Air Force career as well.
Gotcha. So you're doing something kind of that's completely different from your typical police officer work that you would do here when you're back home.
Absolutely. So that was one of the things whenever I did enlist, I wanted it to be outside. I'd already been a police officer, and I wanted to broaden my range and just do something completely different. So logistics was the path that I took.
Makes sense. So when you were first ready to join, can you kind of just explain what that was like discussing with your family? Like when you were first thinking about getting involved with the military, is that something that you discussed? Because like I said, you got to do it a little bit older in your life, so
sure.
You have your wife and you have your kids too. So
Yeah.
what was that like?
It consisted of a bunch of different conversations that took place between me and my wife. She knew it was something that I'd always wanted to do, because of different things that had happened within our life. I wasn't able to do it then, there, now. It was kind of a if not now, when type deal. So we had many conversations about it, and through her and my family's support, this is when we decided, hey, let's hold our nose and jump. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, kind of just go with it there.
Yep.
So that's awesome. So obviously you probably got to experience a lot of really cool things on your deployment. Like I said, we're going to get to that here in a few seconds. So the people that you were deployed with, or the people that you've met in the military, have you developed a pretty close relationship with those people too?
Yeah, actually that answers another question involved here that I really wanted to hit on. But yeah, the relationships that you form in the military, it becomes a second family. Everything that you go through in the military, whether it's the difficult task in front of you or being separated away from home, you do all of that together. You do it as a family. So the relationships you form, whether your encounters are short or long, are binding essentially for life. It's very similar to, you may remember playing football or baseball with some of the people you went to school with and being really fond of those memories. It's very similar to that, is the best thing that I can kind of describe it with. But yeah, one of my favorite things about the military is people.
I can imagine that being extremely awesome. You know, getting to experience, you know, meeting different people from all different backgrounds from all over the United States and kind of bringing those people together. So, could you just elaborate a little bit more about the many different places that you were when you were deployed? Maybe foods, some cultural differences that you've seen between the United States and the Middle East.
Absolutely. So, while I was over at the Middle East, I ate a ton of lamb and rice. They're big, like on ciabatta and different types of bread, hummus. Everything that they make is almost like handmade and really fresh. So it's kind of interesting. And some of the other places that I've had the opportunity to travel, like eating pizza in Italy, it's incredible. You know what I mean? And the amount of food that there's no preservatives in it, and it's natural.
It's just raw.
It's very, very good. To eat sushi and ramen from Japan is pretty incredible. Although you will get sick of it after a couple of weeks. But yeah, no, and I think that's the most interesting thing about the food culture in some of these other countries is it's just we have a perception of what pizza should taste like, or sushi, or hummus, but when you go there and it's authentic and it's made where it's
from where you got
originated, it's really special.
That's awesome. So can we get a little bit more specific about the area of the world you were in? We talked about being in the Middle East here, but can you kind of just give us a little bit more information?
So I deployed to Al Dhafra Air Base, which is just outside of Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. So the United Arab Emirates is a country in the Middle East, and it's set up like the U.S. states. Each emirate is different in the UAE. So some similarities there. It's right along the Persian Gulf, and we had responded to an ongoing war that has been going on for the last 20 years. So in our mission had to deal with countries and supporting other countries that bordered the UAE, as well as Iraq and Afghanistan, some places like that.
So what was it like when you were away from home? What was that experience like? Was it hard for you, not being close to your family? I can only imagine, or I can't really imagine what that would be like.
Sure. And that is the most difficult part. I love my military affiliation. I love the work that I'm able to be a part of. But it does come with some sacrifice. And the sacrifice is felt not only just by me, right, but it's from my family too. And I've been involved with raising my two sons, and for them to go back to school or back to school shopping, while it sounds so minuscule and small, to miss the Deloge Labor Day picnic, it is bizarre.
Those little things are actually pretty big things when you step back from the picture.
They really are. Holidays are tough. Holidays are the worst. So, but all in all, it's a much bigger picture. It's bigger than you.
Yeah. So our next question comes from Haley Hasselmeyer. She was curious about what was one thing that you loved about the military, and maybe what was one of your least favorite things too about the military. Trying to stay on the positive side.
Sure,
We're staying with the whole Veterans Day thing here, you know.
No, it's good. So one of my most favorite things about the military, they are the people. Absolutely, hands down, they are the people, the relationships you form, the friendships, and like I said, it's forever, it really is. So it's pretty incredible. One of my least favorite things about it is training or a drill weekend always falls on the most beautiful weekend, or you've got an event planned or something like that, or being away from home from an extended amount of time.
Okay, so several of our students, they asked about aircraft. You know, aircraft typically comes with the Air Force here. I guess they wanted to know more specifically is if you did any flying of aircraft yourself, or were you flying in the aircraft, and what kind of aircraft you got to kind of ride around in here.
So that's kind of the cool part about being in the Air Force, is you get to be around all these really cool aircraft. I myself don't pilot any aircraft, but the aircraft that we have at Scott Air Force Base is the KC-135 Stratotanker, and that's a mouthful, right? Essentially what it is a large gas station in the sky, and our mission is to do air refueling. So we take this big, heavy aircraft, fill it full of gasoline, and we have like a stick that's 35 feet long, attach it with magnets to another aircraft and just pump fuel in fighter jets and all kinds of other aircraft that we have. So, and I've flown on it many times. That's actually my preferred way to travel. I've hung hammocks on some of the islets and rocked myself over cargo bins on some of the long flights.
So you set up hammock inside the plane itself.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's
A
pretty
little untraditional from just, if anybody's got to experience flying, just
Sure.
entering a plane and sitting in a chair and be stuck there for several hours. So they let you guys move around the aircraft a little bit more while you're
A little bit,
traveling.
yeah. So a lot of the same stuff still applies, but in a big cargo jet like that, it depends on what you have. But
Gotcha.
but yeah, sometimes travel is a little bit easier that way.
Yeah. So on this past deployment, I'm sure you've made several different memories, but what was probably the most memorable experience you had? This comes from Ronnie Guevara.
Okay. There's a ton. There really is. From the time that I got over there to learning what my role was to what the mission was over there when we executed the mission. But I think probably the most memorable or my most favorite is redeploying members home. When it was the end of their tour, it was a lot of fun to sit down and plan that movement of going back home and to see the excitement of everybody getting out of the theater, headed back home to loved ones and stuff like that.
I'm sure they were excited about that.
It was really cool. Yeah.
So, what were some of like the bigger cultural differences that you've seen between the United States and the Middle East where you were at? This comes from Gabe Lowe.
Okay, so pretty traditional of a Middle Eastern culture. What I did find was, as I went over there kind of looking for cultural differences, what I was kind of really amazed was by some of the similarities. And the reason, how I'll explain this is I went to a shopping mall just outside in Abu Dhabi, and there was a 13-year-old boy in a traditional like linen gown in clothing that's different from you or I, but he was on an iPhone and he's wearing a New York Yankees hat. So
So you've seen that cultural spread, the diffusion's made its way across the
Sure.
Atlantic Ocean.
And it was pretty cool to see how like American culture had spread so far across and impacts other countries that we have no bearing of, So it was pretty neat to see that aspect of it, and the mall was full of teenagers as a hangout spot. So
just like it would be in the United States.
100%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what was the military base like that you were stationed at? Were you able to leave and go do your own thing on your own free time, or were you stuck in that one area?
Yeah. So the military does. I guess whenever you first come out, they allow you certain privileges as you kind of earn them. But on-base life is like its own community. You have grocery stores. You have a dining facility to go eat at. You have a golf course, you have recreation centers and gyms, and it's pretty neat. And some of our, almost everything on base is tax-free, so that's pretty cool.
Gotcha. So Hayden Barbaroto, another 8th grade student that we have here, was curious about this. He was wanting to know how the serving in the military and also being part of the police department, how did that experience impact, I guess, your experience in the military here? So did it have any impact at all? Did it make anything easier or smoother, like transitioning from police work to military work?
Yeah, I think so. And the reason I think so is because the cool opportunity about moving around in the military, and you spoke on it a little bit earlier, is whenever you get people from all over the globe and different backgrounds and things of that nature, it's not only how I've been a policeman in St. Francis County, but it's people from California or the Virgin Islands or Wisconsin or wherever, and you get them together for a national defense, and you learn some of these tactics and strategies and things of that nature that it's like a one-stop shop to where you can get that. And policing is a paramilitary organization, so there's a lot of similarities that I didn't even realize was a similarity, right? Police can't wear beards because of a fit for military-style mask and stuff like that. So, just as one kind of small example or whatever.
Gotcha. So obviously there's lots of different career opportunities, and I'm sure our middle schoolers, as they transition into high school, start thinking about this stuff a little bit more. But we had one of our students, Dragan Stagnar, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's got an older brother who just joined the military. He was curious if there was any advice that you could maybe give him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Don't volunteer for anything, is what I tell everybody as it relates to basic training. Military drill instructors or military training instructors are very good at finding everyone and making sure everybody's got a job. So don't volunteer yourself. It's usually not gonna go well. What I tell people also within basic, just work hard and keep your mouth closed.
Yeah, kind of do what you're told.
That's it. You'll survive, and life becomes a lot easier if you just do those things. So outside of basic training, I say work hard and keep your mouth closed. Everything else will be kind of laid out for you, and that's the design of it, right? Is for them to build you a strong foundation, and then there's room for growth, development, and really a better you.
So Haley Hedrick wants to know, would you recommend, the Air National Guard as a potential career opportunity for them in the future? I'm sure lots of students, like I said, will be making a decision in their life, and this could be a big opportunity and could be a life-changing situation for some people to join some branch of the military that we have in the United States. So would you recommend it?
So I always say I have one regret, and is that I didn't find this earlier. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is because you can come from anywhere and do almost anything. And some of the things that I've accomplished in my life have been in the short amount of time that I've been associated with the United States military, and that's with brother and sister branches of Army, Navy, Coast Guards, Marines. It's incredible, and as I share like my stories or my experiences, I see a couple of different things, right? One is people are like, oh man, that's a cool story, or they're able to relate to it as well. So it's kind of easy to pick those two out. In short, my short answer is 1,000%. Yes, absolutely. Not only does it make you a better you, in my opinion, it also gives you a skill, a trade, a craft, an education
that they could take potentially to later on in their life or their next step after the military.
A ton of benefits. Yep.
So, Officer Whitfield, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our middle school students about your experience in the military before we kind of wrap up our interview here?
I don't think so. I would just say thank you for your interest. I really appreciate it. As much fun as it is for me to tell these things, it's really a blast seeing people respond to it and listen to it.
Yeah. Well, if anybody should be giving thanks, I think it should be us and our student body here, thanking you for your service and all the other veterans that we have out there in our country. So, guys, if you get to see Officer Whitfield in the office or out in the hallway at any time, make sure you guys thank him for his time that he's dedicated to protecting our country and this nation that we live in. See you.
Appreciate your support.